What's going on, guys? In this video, I'm bringing my 2023-2024 NHL season predictions and comparing that to an NHL 24 simulation. Starting off here, guys, with the Pacific Division. I feel like it's probably one of the more easy divisions to predict. I got the Edmonton Oilers at first place. I feel like McDavid, Draisaitl going to kind of carry them to that spot. At number 2, I got the defending Stanley Cup champion Vegas Golden Knights. Obviously, they lost Riley Smith, but apart from that, their team is mostly together. They're a solid team last year. No reason why they shouldn't be a solid team again. On number 3, they're the LA Kings. I think got even better with that trade for Dubois. Goaltending definitely still an issue with them. They got Talbot and Copley right now, probably in a tandem. That's definitely like their biggest question mark, but they should still be a playoff lock. After that, number 4, got the Calgary Flames. I feel like they definitely underperformed last year, pretty much across the board. You look at Huberdeau, Weegar, Markstrom, Kadri even. A lot of guys do not play their best. I think at least some of them are going to bounce back and push that team into a playoff spot. Then next year, guys, number 5, we got the Seattle Kraken. Also getting a wild card spot there in the West. I feel like the Kraken maybe overperformed a little bit last year, but still should be a pretty solid team this year. And just squeak in there with the final wild card spot in the West. Behind them, at number 6, we got the Vancouver Canucks. I feel like the Canucks will be competitive this year for sure, but unfortunately fall a little bit short of the playoffs. Number 7, there, the Anaheim Ducks. I don't see them being anywhere near the playoffs, but I do see them doing better than the San Jose Sharks, who I have at 8. Honestly, I think the Sharks could finish last in the NHL this year. It's between them and a couple other teams for me, so we'll have to wait and see. Now, next year, guys, get the Central at number 1. I got the Dallas Stars. I just feel like they're the most stacked team, top to bottom. They got Robertson and Hintz at forward. Defense led by Heiskanen. Of course, they got Andre Net, one of the better goalies in the league. Pretty easy choice. Now, number 2, Colorado Avalanche. I think if Avalanche were healthy, you know, they had Landeskog, maybe I put them at number 1, but because they don't, because they also lost a couple players last year, I think the Avalanche fall to 2 spot, but still a very good team. Definitely a playoff lock in my eyes. Now, next year, guys, number 3, got the Minnesota Wild. Honestly, for me, number 3 is kind of a toss-up between Minnesota and Winnipeg. I think both those teams are competing for that spot. Whoever misses out on that spot probably misses the playoffs, as I had both wildcard spots going to Pacific teams. I think, you know, Minnesota could have 95, Winnipeg could have 94. It's that close. Obviously, the best player between the two teams has to be Kaprizov, but then I think you look at the forward depth, it might go to the Jets. Defensively, I think I like the Wilds better. Goaltending-wise, I do like Hellebuck more than Gustafsson, but Gustafsson did play kind of insane last year. He built on that. It could be really close. So I'm basically just betting on the team that's been a bit more successful the last couple years, which is the Wild. Now, next year, guys, number 5, we got the St. Louis Blues. Pretty mediocre last year. I think we see more of that. They lost O'Reilly. They lost Tarasenko. Really didn't bring much in. I think in terms of the goaltending, Hofer could replace Binnington. We'll have to wait and see. I think St. Louis definitely not going to be a terrible team, nor are they going to be a great team. They're going to be somewhere in the middle. Number 6, they're Nashville Predators. They're kind of a tough one. They're definitely on the decline. How much they're going to decline this year is kind of the question. So I got them at 6. I think that's pretty fair for them. Honestly, at the end of the season, if Nashville finishes like below, say, Arizona, I wouldn't be surprised, which is why I have Arizona 7. I was contemplating with them at 6, but just look at the two teams. I think the Preds have the better team on paper. Saros for sure is the much better goaltender. They got the better defense. Even forwards, it's pretty equal, but you might have to give the edge to the Preds. So I think unless, you know, the Coyotes have Cooley, some other young players really step up, they're probably at number 7 there. And then finally, number 8 with the Chicago Blackhawks. Besides Bedard and Taylor Hall and I guess Seth Jones, really nothing on that team. So I'd be very surprised if the Blackhawks do not finish last in the Central this year. And now next year, guys, we're moving on to the Atlantic Division. I'm not gonna lie, this was the hardest division to predict by far. After I put Toronto at 1 and Montreal at 8, the rest of the teams were literally a crapshoot. So I just kind of did my best guess, and we'll see what happens. I'm sure I'll be wrong. I've got Boston at 2. They were the best regular season team ever last year. Obviously, they lost Bergeron, they lost Krejci, they lost Hall, but they were the best team ever. Not just, you know, first in division, the best team ever. Even after losing those guys, I feel like they should still have enough there to be a playoff team. They brought in a couple pieces to kind of help them out a bit. I think, you know, Pastrnak is coming off a career year, so I feel like they slowed down, but still hold on to second in their division thanks to their strong defense as well as very strong goaltenders. Now, number 3 here, I got the Buffalo Sabres, really climbing up that leaderboard. I think they have such a good, young, up-and-coming team. They're finally going to make that jump to the playoffs. I'm pretty sure they're the NHL team with the longest current playoff drought, so hopefully for Buffalo Sabres fans, they break that this season. Honestly, for me, I think their X factor is Devin Levi and net. Everything I've heard about him, everything I've seen about him is he's such a good young goalie. If he does come into the NHL and plays very well, I think he'll be the backbone of that Sabres team. Now, if he comes in and struggles, I can definitely see the Sabres missing. Now, number 4 there, the Tampa Bay Lightning getting with a wild card spot. I feel like the core of that team is still good enough for the playoffs. The big thing for me is the fact Vasilevsky's going to be out for the first 2 to 2.5 months. With the division being as close as I predicted it will be, I think that's really going to hurt them. And that's why they're going to finish a little bit lower in the standings than they otherwise would have. Also, too, this summer they did lose a bit of depth. So, you know, I think A couple teams are going to pass them here. Now, number 5 here, guys, we have the Ottawa Senators. Again, it's so close. Like, Tampa Bay could get in with 91 points. Ottawa could finish 5th with 90. I think the Senators, like the Sabres, are an up-and-coming team. I just think for Buffalo, they have a lot more guys that can kind of put their team on their back. You look at Tage Thompson. You look at Dahlin. I think both those players are kind of better than anyone Ottawa has. Even in goal, I think Devin Levi has a much higher ceiling. So Senators, very competitive this year. I could see them getting in above Tampa if Tampa does struggle while missing Vasilevsky, but I have them being really close and unfortunately falling a bit short. I like the moves they made. Obviously, they lost to Brinkett, but they brought in Tarasenko to replace him. Of course, they have a full season now with Chychrun. They're going to be a solid team, but I have them on the outside looking in. On number 6, I got Detroit Red Wings. So a lot of people I see have them 7. You guys can see I have somebody else there. I think the Red Wings are going to be a little bit worse than the Ottawa Senators, but kind of similar. I think they've gotten better this summer. I think they'll be competitive. You know, if Tampa Bay's at 91, if Ottawa's at 90, I think Detroit will have like 87, 88. I see the Atlantic being the most competitive division by far this year. Now, number 7, you got the Florida Panthers. Of course, made the Stanley Cup final last year. I don't think I've seen anyone else have them finishing this low. So my logic is basically, last year they just barely squeaked into the playoffs. Literally, if Pittsburgh just beats Chicago Blackhawks, Florida doesn't make it. And then you look at how competitive this division is going to be and the fact that they're missing their 2 best defensemen for 2+ months. I think I've heard Montour's supposed to be out for a couple months. Ekblad could be out until like January. That's their literally top D pair. They're without that for that long when the games matter so much because the division is so close. I think it's really going to hurt them. And because of that, I don't think they're going to have the time to basically make up for kind of have that slow start out of the gate with missing both Montour and Ekblad. So again, if the Florida Panthers are healthy, they're finishing higher in the standings. Because they're not, I have them at number 7. Finally here, the Metro Division. Number 1, I have the Carolina Hurricanes. I think they might be the deepest team in the NHL. The fact that they have like Caleb Jones and Dylan Coghlan as their 7th and 8th defenseman is just ridiculous. On offense, they probably could have a bit more firepower, but still should be good enough, especially with the goaltending they have. Anderson, Ranta, Kochkov. Again, like the fact Kochkov's their 3rd goalie. Crazy amount of depth, and I think, too, they have the best defense in the NHL. I don't think anyone can match their top 6. Number 2, they're the Devils. I think are a very solid young team on the rise. You look at their top 6 forwards, hard to argue any other team has a better top 6 forward group. Defensively, of course, led by Hamilton. They bring in Luke Hughes, who I think is have a big year with them. Goaltending, they got Vanacek. Even if he's not playing that great, I think Schmid's a decent backup. Devils should be a lock there at 2. Next up here, the Rangers, of course. They still have Panarin. They still have Fox, Zibanejad. They got one of the best goalies in the league in Shesterkin. Hard to bet against them. I think they should be a playoff lock there in the Metro. Now, number 4 here, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Some people have them getting in. Some people don't. I think that trade for Karlsson, he's really going to kind of boost the numbers of a lot of those offensive guys. I think you're going to be putting up more points, still playing solid defense. Most of that, defensive core is there. Jari's a decent enough goalie. Pittsburgh squeaks in with the wild card spot. Number 5 there, got the Capitals. Now, I do want to say I think there's probably going to be a pretty big divide between Pittsburgh and Washington, opposed to say like in the Atlantic. I think the Capitals will be competitive this year. They're a lot healthier this season than the last. Kemper's a very good goalie. They still got Ovi, Karlsson, all those guys. Unfortunately, I just don't think it's going to be enough. The Islanders at 6. You could argue have the best goalie in the NHL in Sorokin. They've also got a solid defense. For me, what it comes down to is just their offense isn't good enough. I don't really see them putting up enough points to kind of contend with some of those playoff teams to actually win enough games to get in. I think, they're not going to be terrible or anything, kind of like the St. Louis Blues, somewhere in the middle. Number 7 there, the Columbus Blue Jackets. They obviously had a big summer adding Fantilli, Provorov, and Severson, so they're going to be a lot better this year, especially since last year they were really, really beat up. I could definitely see them finishing higher than the 7th spot, but I don't see them making the playoffs. And then finally at number 8 there, the Philadelphia Flyers. With the Sharks as well as the Blackhawks, I think they'll be one of the bottom 3 teams in the league this year. Clearly tanking, clearly trying to get a lottery pick, hoping for Macklin, Celebrini, Cole Eiserman, whoever it is. So I think the Flyers are 8. It's pretty obvious. They got Carter Hart in net, who's not bad. Aside from that, though, like the forward group's been pretty much dismantled. The defense has also been dismantled. Not a whole lot of good things going for that team. We'll see if they prove me wrong. I just don't see it happening. So if you guys disagree with any of my picks, I'm sure you do. Let me know in the comments section. Next year, though, guys, we're actually going to start with the NHL 24 simulation. And for the simulation, guys, it's going to be the San Jose Sharks. It's a team that shouldn't, affect too many things with me controlling them. I am going to have computer trades turned off just so it's, simulating the season with the teams as we see it, not with, kind of guessing what the trades are going to be. And I'm not sure if you guys saw EA's official NHL 24 season simulation, but they got some very interesting results. Like McDavid there having 150 points, all of your other top scorers being in the hundreds. I don't know. Something seems a little bit fishy, so I'm going to try and mimic that. Basically, have sim engine scoring here set to high with the shot frequency as well. On top of that, too, I'm actually going to adjust the gameplay sliders here and have attribute effects set to 10 out of 10, which basically means good players always play better, bad players always play worse. It's supposed to be like the most realistic, but it does take the most RNG out of it, which in real life, there's a good amount of luck in hockey. So we'll see if I can replicate this. You look at their standings as well. Really no surprises there. I feel like in all the simulations I've done, there's always a random team like the Ducks or the Sharks making the playoffs. So we'll see what happens here. Try and do the most realistic sim, and I'm excited to see the results. Alright guys, so I just finished simming. Here's what a realistic NHL 24 season simulation looks like. In the Pacific Division there, we got Edmonton 1, Vancouver 2, LA 3. Vegas there misses, 86 points. Calgary as well, Seattle, Anaheim, San Jose though are at the bottom. Looking at the Central Division next, you got Colorado crushing it, 115. Again, healthy Landeskog, I mean, not out of the question. Jets, Stars, Wild, Blues all make it. Blackhawks, Predators, Coyotes miss. So far, this actually isn't terrible, aside from Vegas missing the playoffs. We're going to move over to the Atlantic Division now. Of course, I mentioned being the toughest one. Florida wins the division. If Ekblad and Montour are healthy all year, that could happen. Tampa second, Detroit third, I'd love. Boston fourth, Ottawa, Toronto sixth. I think there's almost no way Toronto does not make the playoffs this year. Buffalo 7th, Montreal 8th. So they do have Montreal getting last. Buffalo 7th could happen, but I don't think there's any way Toronto gets 6th. Although I will say the one good thing is Buffalo finished 7th there with 88 points. So that just shows you how good the Atlantic was. They're in the Pacific Division. They literally would have made the playoffs. So they do have the Atlantic, being super tough, correct. Finally here in the Metro, Rangers win the division, followed by Pittsburgh, Devils, Capitals surprise us. Carolina misses. I feel like there's no chance Carolina misses. Philly, Columbus, Islanders are all in the bottom 3 as I predicted, although the Islanders getting last would be a big shock for sure. So look at the entire league. Rangers there win the President's Trophy. I think, the biggest surprise team up early, I guess, would be the Jets at 8, the Canucks at 9. Even, Detroit there, almost a top 10 team. And then definitely, Toronto missing. To show you the strength of the Atlantic Division, Ottawa's 92, Toronto's 91. They're actually top 16 teams in the league, and they both miss just because the West is that much weaker. Chicago being that close to a playoff spot, literally 1 point back, I feel it's pretty much impossible. No way that happens, but obviously I've been wrong before. Last in the NHL was actually the team I controlled, the San Jose Sharks. 52 points there, kind of funny. And now look at the entire league here, guys. McDavid did finish first in scoring, but only had 118 points. Again, how EA got 150 plus for McDavid out of the EA sim. When I had both the shot frequency and scoring set to high, delayed attribute effects set to 10 out of 10, which basically means McDavid's going to play the best he possibly can. Bad players will play the worst they possibly can. I don't really know. I'm thinking I'm going to call a cap on that one. Something shady. McKinnon right behind him though, 117. Pasternak, Draisaitl, Marchand, Hughes, Kachuk, Rantanen, and Barkov. All these guys at least had 100 points. Again, it's basically just, McDavid. Only 118 is not enough. He did have 60 goals though. So basically, just the assists there for him were not high enough. Look at defensive scoring now. Adam Fox put up 98, just crushed it. Hedman even still had 95 with the Lightning. You got Carlson there in a big year with the Penguins. Makar, Hamilton, Montour, Yossi, Carlson, Heiskanen. I mean, these could be like your top scoring defensemen for sure. Looking at goaltenders there, Georgiev had the most wins, 46. I'm pretty sure last year he had the most wins in real life. Shesterkin, though, best save percentage, 918. Again, that's actually pretty realistic. And he also had the best goals again, so looks like he'd probably be taking home the Vezina. And then finally here, guys, rookie skaters. Who's going to take home the Calder? It looks like Connor Bedard probably gets it. Over a point per game, 86 there. His first season in the Blackhawks. But I should point out, Carlson there put up 71 with the Ducks. Cooley, 64 with the Coyotes. Fantilli, bit of a rough rookie year with the Blue Jackets, less than 40. But the top 3 guys definitely popped off. Now, look at this, guys. Lottery results are in. Kraken jumped from 8-1 to get Macklin Celebrini. I mean, him, Beniers, and Shane Wright as your 1, 2, 3 of the future. They are set up in a nice spot. So even though they missed the playoffs this year, I feel like that's not a terrible trade-off. And as you guys can see right there, the Dallas Stars won the Stanley Cup. I would actually say that's pretty realistic. I had them finishing first in the Central. Quick look here at the playoff tree. They beat the Jets in 7, Avs in 6, the Canucks in 7, the conference final, and then the Devils in 7. Dallas, New Jersey, I think is a very realistic Stanley Cup final. Again, just, some of the other teams, like Toronto Maple Leafs, Carolina Hurricanes, Vegas Golden Knights, all missing. I don't know about, especially like Toronto, Carolina having finishing first in their divisions in real life. For them to miss would be pretty astronomical. Now, looking at the rest of the awards here, I feel like we know all the teams. Individually here, McDavid, Art Ross Trophy is 4th straight. Hart, though, goes to Nathan McKinnon. Adam Fox, James Norris, Pasternak, Lady Bing. Connor Bedard does get the Calder. Joe Pavelski, Conn Smythe. If I'm him, I'm retiring. Like 40 years old now. Just won a Stanley Cup. Conn Smythe, his first cup. Walk up into the sunset. Shesterkin got the Vezina as we predicted. Also got William Jennings. Jacob Chinordi there on the Blackhawks. Bill Masterton. Blues coach Jack Adams. If they make the playoffs, I could potentially see that, but honestly, I feel like it'd probably go to like the long Detroit if they somehow get in. O'Reilly, they got the Selke Trophy, McKinnon, Ted Lindsay, and then finally McDavid also got the Maurice Richard. So as you guys can see, when you do an actual NHL 24 simulation, there's always going to be a couple wonky things that happen. I was surprised this year, like no crazy bad team made it in. Instead, though, there were some really stacked teams that did not make it. So let me know in the comments section whether or not the simulation EA did was legit or was a cap. I'm curious to hear from you guys. But that's going to do it for this one. If you guys did like the video, leave that thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that sub button. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a nice day. Goodbye.